Hi, good to see you again. So this video follows on from my previous video titled How to Set an Intention That Gets Results. In this video, I want to show you how to use the hierarchy of ideas, which gives you a framework for abstracting up and down and shifting logical types. Now, there's a detailed article on this on my website, abbyeagle.com. So the aim of this video is to help you to become an NLP martial artist. That is, how to use NLP language patterns artfully like a Tai Chi master practitioner. Let's take a brief look at the hierarchy of ideas. This is Tad James's model. So in this example, we start with cars. We ask, what are cars an example of? And we get transportation. What is transportation an example of? And we get movement. And then we continue chunking up. That is abstracting up to the level of energy. Chunking back down to the level of transportation, we ask, what are other examples of transportation? And we get trains, airplanes, and skateboards, and things like that. These are what we call logical types. So, coming back to cars, we chunk down to specifics by asking, what are some examples of cars? And we get the make of the car. Then you can chunk down to the model and all the way down to nuts and bolts and atoms. So we abstract up and down logical levels of abstraction, and we can move horizontally to something else that is at the same level of abstraction. So we might say a car is like a train in that it is a box on wheels which is used to transport people and things. This also takes us into the use of simile and metaphor. So now, if you are familiar with the NLP Meta Model, which I hope you are, you would know that the NLP Meta Model is used to gather high quality information. For example, while having lunch, I heard this quote on BitChute. Immigration is so high because Americans don't want to work. Now, using the NLP Meta Model, we ask, which Americans specifically don't want to work? So we chunk down to get the demographics. Now, the NLP Meta Model is a fantastic tool for gathering specific information, but we also need flexibility in abstracting up where appropriate. So when you're having a discussion with someone, it helps you abstract up to gain agreement and build rapport. So, for example, do you believe there's a housing crisis? If the other person agrees, then you can chunk down to more specifics, but only as fast and only as long as you're able to maintain rapport. As soon as there's a disagreement and it looks like you could be losing rapport, then chunk back up again to an appropriate level to gain agreement once again. Now, if you're in a discussion and you begin to feel uncomfortable, then this may be an indicator that you may need to chunk up to find something that you can both agree upon and thus build a sense of liking and trust. Now, do your best to build and maintain rapport before you leave a discussion as well. So, you leave on good terms. So once you understand the key elements in build a rapport, and once you have built a framework in your mind of the hierarchy of ideas model so that you can recognize the shift in logical levels and logical types, then the challenge is to track the key changes in a conversation. So the first step in having a conversation with someone is to build rapport. Now, as you build rapport, pay attention to the words that you are using and the words that the other person is using. You will also need to take note of the level of abstraction of the dialogue throughout the conversation. It takes a bit of work, all right? And it will also help if you set a clear intention for the conversation before it started. So is the purpose to gather information and hear what the other person has to say without judgment or not? Or is it so that you can inform the other person about some facts? Is it because you want to win them over to your side? Or is it because you want to win an argument? Keep in mind the use of questions, statements, and commands. When you ask a question, is it a direct question where you want a yes-no answer? Or is it a leading question where you want to direct the listener to your outcome? Or is it an open-ended question? And when someone asks you a question, do you have at least 3 ways to answer each type of question? You've got to have a number of ways to answer a question if you want to get requisite variety. You want to be an NLP martial artist. So when you begin the conversation, start by matching the level of abstraction used by the other person. This will help maintain rapport. Then, keeping in mind the purpose for the conversation, either abstract up or down or shift logical types to do a comparison with something else. Take note whether the other person follows you or not. Whenever the other person changes the level of abstraction, immediately shift to the same level of abstraction, or at least point out that they've changed the level of abstraction. You might say, okay, so you want to get into the details. Or, okay, so you want to abstract up. I can do that. The challenge is to stay conscious of the level of abstraction that both you and the other person are using. Now, in order to stay in a resourceful state, at times you may need to share the feeling that you have about the other. For example, if the other person sounds angry, upset, confused, condescending, judgmental or whatever, then share your intuition with them and see what happens. And for the purposes of this video, make sure that you practice developing speed and proficiency in shifting logical levels and types, and when appropriate, pointing out the frame of mind which the other person appears to be holding. Do what you can to develop your NLP and martial arts skills, and come back to this video and let me know what results you got and any suggestions that you might have. And if you can give the video a like, share it on social media and subscribe to my channel, that will help the algorithm enormously. And it will also motivate me to keep making more videos. All the best to you. Look forward to seeing you again.